Let me start here because this one stopped me in my tracks, man. President Trump was just asking about pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell's, Jeffrey Epstein's partner in crime. And instead of saying absolutely not, he says, well, I got to talk to the DOJ, man. Let's play it. Let's see it.
Say it.
The Supreme Court is back and said that they rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're...
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
You know, I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I would have to take a look. Did they reject that?
She wanted to appeal her conviction.
And what happened?
They said that they were not going to hear her appeal.
I see. Well, I'll take a look at it. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So, but I'll speak. I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be a candidate for clemency, sir?
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it.
That means it's not off the table.
I have a lot of people have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even.
Stop right there, man. That shouldn't even be a question. Why would the idea of pardoning a convicted child trafficker accomplice even be a freaking discussion? This is exactly how the deep state survives, man. Minimum security prison deals, quiet transfers, good behavior perks. The system protects us all while the public gets crumbs. And the thing is that recently Trump was asked about things going on in Ukraine, and he pretended he didn't know about it. And the journalist asked him the question, said, well, does normally things happen behind your back with it under your command? And he said, no, I know about everything that's happening. So that means that he knows about this, but he's kind of deflecting the question. Okay. And we can look at a historical parallel here. We look at Nixon's silent pardons. We've seen this movie before, man. Back in the 1970s, Nixon's Watergate cronies didn't vanish into obscurity. They got wrist slaps, commutations, and sweetheart deals. The elite protected their own, just like they did with Jeffrey Epstein back in the day, because when one domino falls, the whole structure risks collapse. Then it was office break-ins, now it's trafficking rings. But the pattern is the same, man. The bigger the crime, the softer the punishment. If you're in the club. You and I are not part of that club, and we get gaslit. It's boring. It's a hoax. Now, speaking of the system protecting itself and why you're here, new higher resolution footage has surfaced of the Charlie Kirk incident, man, the assassination. I reviewed the new angles, and it shows very well the shirt ballooning out, fabric inflating, and even his necklace dislodging. Now, I'm going to break this down for you, analyze it, because the physics matter. You're talking a high velocity round, whether 5.56, 7.62, or 30.6, whatever you want. It produces a localized penetration channel. It tears a tiny hole, right? If he was shot in the shirt, you may see the shirt rip, but he was obviously shot in the neck, so there was not that, but you would just see and then the outward balloon-like expansion across the torso. That's not how ballistic trauma works, okay? A full-power, high-velocity cartridge, using this type of rifle, you're looking at a typical load of 196 to 200-grain bullet at 2,500 to 2,700 feet per second at muzzle. At 200 yards, the velocity of steel may be 2,300 to 2,400 feet per second of energy. So 2,300 to 2,500 foot-pounds. In other words, it's basically, being a 30-06 class, is designed to punch through heavy materials, bones, everything, right? Now, what I'm going to show you here is you can see the balloon effect within his shirt. Now, the other day, if you hadn't watched my channel, I would encourage you to go back to the videos, because I showed the frontal. Now, I'm not showing any actual video here because I got nailed the other day for this. Because if I was a lefty showing this, it'd be fine. But because I speak truth, I have no masters, by the way, none. We'll get into that too. But what you're seeing is a textbook signature of an outward pressure event. In plain language, gas displacement from underneath the shirt, right? It's being pressurized. That's the calling card of a pyrotechnic squib, CO2 burst, or microdetonation device concealed under clothing. Now, the secondary motion, and I'm going to get into this. So if you want to see the real video, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to post it on my Instagram story. Go follow me on Instagram. I'm going to put on the story because I did not want to post this video. I hadn't posted any of the video because just out of respect, man. One to Charlie Kirk, his family, and then my viewers who don't want to see this type of thing. But I'm going to post on the story. You don't see any gore or anything. You're just going to see the reaction of the shirt. But I'm going to post it on the story because I can't post it here. And hopefully you can respect that. But in the video, you're going to see his necklace ejecting. I can't show that part here, but in this image here is where his necklace is ejecting. Now, a lot of people were saying the other day to me in the first video, oh, that's his necklace like ringing around his shirt. It's not true. The necklace had already ejected by that time. Okay. Right. This would, and the necklace ejecting would be consistent with a like a blast wave, not a kinetic bullet strike. Rifle fire does not knock jewelry off sideways. Okay. But micro explosives will. A bullet doesn't create a directional puff that moves hair like this. Look at this. The first shot is right before with his hair down. The second shot is hair up. Okay. That puff coming from his shirt, making his hair go up. Nobody caught this. I'm the first person that I've seen that talked about the hair puffing on the back of his neck. Now that would only happen if the round grazed the scalp, passing extremely close in open air, not necessarily touching the individual. In other words, what you're watching is a volumetric gas expansion, not a tensile tear. Maybe a controlled explosive displacement, not ballistic penetration, right? And again, I can't even show the raw sequence here because YouTube will nuke the damn video. The full uncut footage will be posted on my Instagram story. Go see it for yourself and tell me what you think. And again, if you don't want to see it, don't watch my Instagram stories for the next 24 hours. Okay. Don't click my stories for the next day or so. Now, they're claiming this was a 30-06, right? Mauser from 200 yards. Do you know how much energy it still carries at that range? Over 2,000 foot-pounds, right? You don't just stop that in the neck without an exit. Could it be fragmented on the vertebrae? In theory, yes, but you'd expect a catastrophic blowout, not just a frontal neck spray and no exit. To me, it looks like the shirt inflation, the gas pressure release coincides with the hair lift, suggests more so an outward force from beneath the clothing rather than an inbound rifle strike. What this footage shows is the shirt inflation front to front and then back, and you can kind of see this. I think I have a clip here. I think I have an image here. Maybe I don't have it. I thought I had it, but maybe I do. No, I don't have it. But you can see it kind of starting in the front, okay? You can see it kind of starting in the front. Then the necklace will eject, then hair movement. So it's kind of a ripple effect in this direction, is what you'll see in slow motion. The footage is slowed down. It still looks like a blast event, not a textbook rifle impact. And so really the physics of it just does not add up. Now, if we also look at another historical parallel, look at Franz Ferdinand, the propaganda setup, and history rhymes again. When Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in 1914, the actual event was messy, man. Multiple attackers, grenades, gunfire, confusion. But the propaganda machine cleaned it all up in a neat little story to spark World War I. Now you have to ask ask about this event right now, why this happened, because the details didn't matter then. What mattered was the narrative. And just like back then, what we're seeing now is the raw footage telling one story, while the official narrative demands we believe another. And it's happening constantly. What we have here, something I've noticed Officer Tatum has taken it upon himself to become the spokesperson for Israel. You know, I still follow him, but I used to like the guy, but daily he does this. And he brought this lady here, Sarah Adams, on here. Now, I don't know her. I don't really know anybody that knows her. People that worked in the same place don't know her. So anyway, the thing is that I'm going to tell you right now, just for GP, is that anyone who screams a specific message constantly, there's probably a reason for it. And you're going to see that later on in this video. I have some real evidence here in a moment. But when someone constantly speaks the same message, saying this one enemy, I'm not saying these people aren't the enemy, but she keeps saying the same group of people's the enemy, they're the only enemy. Well, who's that people the enemy to? Well, the same people Officer Tatum tends to stand up for on a daily basis, taking it upon himself to be the spokesperson for them. You know, even so much so they've pretty much got it. He posted this. He said, "I truly admire this young man. This is the new guy that's supposedly taken over for Charlie Kirk. This guy is about as soft as frozen yogurt, man. He's got more sugar in his shoes than most of you got in his pantry, in your pantry." But you know, he's saying he's extremely proud of this guy. Well, that guy is also a mouthpiece for a certain the greatest ally. You have to ask yourself, why would someone keep saying this certain narrative? And the fact is when they change completely to this one narrative. Okay, now, and you know, just so you know, I'm not bought and paid for by anybody. I don't take money from anybody, and I think it's pretty apparent because, man, I kind of change course all the time, dude. Like, you know, I keep one thing: freedom, and the Constitution, and obviously Christ. Jesus Christ is the Lord. That's my main thing, right? Jesus Christ is Lord, the Constitution, and freedom. Okay, that's it. I'll deviate from the people that I have supported before if they go against the grain, man. The other thing is I'm supported by you, by my company, Black Scout Survival. You buy my products, which I try to make the absolute freaking best to support you. And that's the thing. You support me. That's what supports this operation. And I also work for a living. I work for a living, guys. So anyway, I'm a real working man. But I won't take a handout, man. Ukraine media try to get a hold of me with government. It's the government media. I did a video about this the other day. They try to get a hold of me, trying to offer me to speak in favor of them. And I said, no. I've said no to a lot of people. I've had all kinds of people come out of woodwork trying to get a hold of me, man. I won't sign a contract. I'm not getting any deals, none of that. I'm not playing those games, right? And kind of speaking along those lines, that we got, you know, if none of that was enough, what we've seen so far is Candace Owens has released alleged text messages or a group chat from Charlie Kirk just 48 hours before his death. Now, in this text, he says he lost a major donor, about $2 million a year, because he wouldn't cancel Tucker Carlson. Now, I can't speak to these texts or group chats, but she posted them, so we'll talk about them, right? Now, in here, he specifically refers to Jewish donors and says they're pressuring him that he won't be bullied and that it's leaving him no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause, right? So that came out, and then you can go along lines, and around that same time frame as this came out, it said that Robert J. Shillman, a conservative tech billionaire, who two associates described as a father figure to Mr. Kirk, 2 days before Mr. Kirk's death, Mr. Shillman angrily questioned Mr. Kirk for giving a platform to Mr. Carlson and informed him he was withdrawing his $2 million pledge to Turning Point. Okay, so that kind of happened. Okay, now Mr. Shillman made no mention of any discord between them, but said Turning Point USA without a leader, it has nowhere to go. So, you know, they appointed a leader within a few days. And this is not going to be a popular thing, but hey, I'm just going by what Charlie Kirk said. I was not a Charlie Kirk follower before, but I've consumed a lot of his content lately. And one thing he spoke about quite often, and what I saw, I was actually going to post a clip of it, but you can go type it in, Boss Babes. He talks quite seriously about women being home and taking care of children. And you have to ask yourself, who's going to be taking care of the children now that the wife is now the CEO? And maybe he did have that in his plans, his arrangement, if something happened to him. I can't say, I haven't seen that. But the fact of the matter is, it kind of goes along with his ideology that he spoke about all these years. If I look at a man that says one message and then another happens after his death, I have to ask, well, why was he saying this all this time? Is this rules for thee or not for me? Or does someone change his message? I don't know. But you do have to ask yourself that, why he was opposed to women in that capacity. He said, he believed in traditional women, gender roles, and so who's going to be taking care of the children now that especially the father's gone out of the home? You just have to ask yourself. Now, I'm not here to talk bad about anyone, especially not Charlie Kirk, because he's gone. He was a patriot. But I do step back and think about what this text message implies, man. These texts are real. This group chat's real. It's an admission that support for a cause can be bought and withdrawn like a stock position. And that is an activism. That's a shield arrangement, man. I'm only promoting this of who's funding me. And that's exactly why it's hard to trust people in this business, because money warps loyalty, man. Money buys silence. And when the funding dries up, the principles dry up too. I'm just saying what it is, man. That I don't like the way that text is not it's not favorable. It says that my loyalty can be bought, essentially. Obviously it couldn't be, because he went against him and still was going to say Tucker Carlson, but was going to be there. So I do commend Charlie for standing up for his beliefs and his opinions. And he even said, I may bring Candace on. So you have to give the man that. He was willing to lose $2 million to stand up for that, right? Now, being that he did that before the loss, that speaks volumes to him as a man. Now, if it came after a loss, I would say, kind of like what I said before, that loyalty can be bought and paid for. It doesn't look like that he's that way to me. It looked like that he is willing to stand on principles, stand on business, and lose money and not care. And matter of fact, I'll keep doing whatever I'm doing. That's what I got from it, and I can definitely respect that. So he seemed to be a man that truthfully lived with his on his values. And yeah. But we got this came out with Anna Paulina Luna. She's out here saying that the assassination may be tied to foreign government funding. Well, I was saying that other day too, but she says a different one. She says pointing the finger at China rather than our greatest ally. Check it out.
There's been a lot of questions as to whether there was foreign government involvement.
In which one?
In the assassination of Charlie Kirk, right?
Okay.
So we're going to address these theories right now. Back during the ICE riots, do you remember all of that at the beginning of the year?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people were like, where are all of a sudden these big violent riots coming from? Who's funding these organizations?
Well, this is something we've always talked about, guys, is that NGOs and how this works is, the CIA, our own government does this same sort of thing. They'll go fund these groups and then countries to try to overthrow the country. So why would you think that it wouldn't happen here?
We found out that there was a foreign funding tied to an individual by the name of Neville Singham, who's a multi-billionaire. And he made his billions by working with the communist Chinese government. And he would and he's not a registered agent, a foreign agent, which is a FARA violation. So he's taking these millions, funneling it into organizations like the Party of Socialism and Liberation, who then in turn create these very radicalized movements, but they're not even American in
George Soros or any of these other clowns, same playbook.
theory or funded by American people. They're actually foreign funded.
She's wrong there. She's wrong there because a lot of USA goes to groups like these, and we wind up funding our own demise. So she's wrong there.
By foreign governments. The irony in all this is that Neville Singham, not just to Mamdani's election, so like Jews from Mamdani, but he actually also has ties to funding the Party of Socialism, the Salt Lake City queer group, which is now being investigated with former knowledge on whether or not they knew Charlie would be assassinated, who had ties to the shooter.
So I talked about this other week, man, and that group is actually not a Chinese-backed group. That group is, she's saying it's funded by Beijing is what she's getting to. That group is actually what I found was funded by Iran, and we know that everything that happens from Iran actually don't come from Iran.
So I do think that there's a foreign funding tie, but the question is which government, and I think it's tied to the Chinese.
So she said the Chinese. Nah, I don't buy that for 1 second, man. You know, you can judge the clip for yourself, but this is the kind of noise that fills the vacuum when no one trusts the official story, and China's the boogeyman. Every group blames its favorite enemy. Everyone points his finger at foreign actors. Meanwhile, the actual truth gets buried. And USA funds most of it. You know, we've seen that. They've tried to cover that up, but this is why I keep hammering the point, man. When everything from donors to government investigations to video evidence looks choreographed, you aren't living inside a narrative war, man. You're not in a news cycle, right? You're living in a narrative war. You're not a news cycle. But the other thing is you're living in the freaking matrix, okay? And the bottom line is, if you even look at this, like I saw this guy's post the other day for these aerial photographs, 3 days after Charlie Kirk's assassination, they literally bricked over the exact location of the crime scene. I mean, that's just totally normal, right? Is that not crazy? Is this not crazy? Look at this. I mean, 3 days after. Doesn't make sense. The other thing is, I started looking for today where Charlie Kirk was buried. And maybe they're keeping that a secret. It's quite possible, but there's a lot of people calling to find out where, right? Sorry. Phoenix Church field calls from people who mistakenly believe Kirk will be buried there. So this church is saying that they're getting calls because somehow it was alleged that he was getting buried there. And so people are wanting to bring flowers or wanting to send donations to the church and so on. But they said, no, it's not us. And then that the only church that I saw that had any kind of official kind of news is this Hanson Mortuary. It was a mortuary, it's not even a church. Hanson Mortuary in Phoenix. And they don't have a grave site as of now that I've saw, but they set up a memorial. So you could go put flowers and stuff by a Charlie Kirk sign. So very strange, right? All of it's strange. And the thing is that when you look at all this stuff, man, it kind of all corresponds together, man. You got Trump hedging on Maxwell, and you have to ask yourself why. Well, when did that interview? Trump had nothing to do with it. And I'm not saying Trump did, but it's just odd timing, man, right? Then we have the strange physics of the Kirk footage, the donor text, and now the China narrative. Each piece of on is weird, but if you put them all together, man, you see the pattern: a system that protects insiders, punishes outsiders, and keeps you guessing with half-truths. Again, guys, if you want to see the raw footage, I'm going to go put on my Instagram right now on the stories. Watch it and tell me if it's a bullet or a blast. I'm not saying it's either. I don't know. I'm just a guy who's trying to on the search for truth. And regardless of what happened, the story doesn't add up. The narrative was cut too quickly. They're saying that there's a high likelihood that Tyler Robinson will get away with this based on just evidence already. The case is in the beginning stages, and they're already talking about him getting away with. The prosecution said they don't have enough. They don't have any photos with him with a rifle. They have no clean photos that it's him. Locations, the text between him and the boyfriend have no date stamp, so obviously it was just typed up somewhere. None of it makes sense. And so when nothing makes sense, you wind up asking questions. All I know is that this does not look like your typical rifle shot. It looks like a blast. And I'd like to know your thoughts. Again, I don't have all the answers. I don't know one way or the other, but I'm saying what it looks like to me. And just physics alone, it just doesn't make sense from their official story. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you hanging out with me. Make sure you stay frosty, stay strapped, and always stay dangerous. Black Scout out.
2, 3. 1, 2.